Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Teach Middle East podcast. I am chatting with Simon O'Connor from Deira International School, Dubai. We're going behind the principal's desk to get to know the man in the role. What makes him tick? What does he enjoy? Who is he really? The man, the mystery. No, I'm joking. But really, we want to just kind of step away from all the pedagogical talk and just talk a little bit about the person who occupies the role. So welcome to the podcast, Simon.
Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to this with a certain sense of trepidation, but let's see how we get on.
I'm a nice person. My listeners know I am a nice person. I do not ask questions about people's deep, dark, private lives. I'm never going to ask you when you lost your virginity, but my mind says 14 and we won't go into that. But really, all fun and jokes aside, let's kick off with something really easy. And that is, why did you go into education? What made you choose this profession of all the professions?
It's a really good question. And actually, I'll be utterly candid. I went into teaching for two reasons. When I was 18, rather than go straight to university, I took a year off and actually went and taught in a rural school in Zimbabwe. It was 40 kilometers from the nearest town. It was 12 kilometers from the nearest road. And it was brilliant. I mean, I was hopeless. I'd had very little. I did 2 days of teach training. The theory behind it was that these were schools which couldn't attract teachers, and therefore, frankly, putting in an 18-year-old with some A levels was better than nothing. We can dispute whether or not it was or not at another time. But and I absolutely loved it. I really, really enjoyed it. I absolutely just got such a buzz from standing in front of students, helping them, teaching them, and it was in such a different context. But I then went to university for 3 years. I hadn't thought about teaching, but really got to a point where thinking, look, I love doing this in the past, but I know how important it is. I'm going to do a PGCE with a view to this will take me one way or the other. I'm going to spend a year training up. I'll either at the end of this year know that I love this and this is something I want to do, and I suspected probably the second response, which is that I would get to the end of it, hate it, and never want to go back to it again. But fortunately, I absolutely loved it. I enjoyed it enormously. I taught in some very challenging schools in my teaching in my PhD year, and just kept on loving it. And actually, for the first 10 years of my career, I taught in really, really challenging environments. Two schools that were very tough in Kent, in the southeast of England. Teaching history and then politics and history, and that buzz continued. And I have to say, it still continues to this day. And I know we're not talking purely about education now, but still working with students, walking into classrooms, talking to students, that buzz remains. And as long as it does, I'll keep doing it.
Let it be known that Simon just told a girl from Tottenham that he taught in a tough school in Leafy, Kent. There are no tough schools in Kent, people.
You see, everyone makes this mistake. There are some nice parts of Kent. There's some pretty tough parts of Kent as well. So I'll challenge you on that one.
Really? Okay. What football team do you support?
Chelsea.
Why? What's wrong with you?
Actually, those two questions are linked. When I started teaching in this in my first school, a boy came up to me and went, "Oi, who do you support?" And I'd never really thought about it. Football is not my main sport. But you could not teach in that school. It was an all-boys school. This is in Kent, where there was selection, and these students had either not been put into or had failed the 11 plus. So it was with everyone else selected off the high school. And football was absolutely part of the DNA of that community. You couldn't be credible unless you were able to talk about your team, who you'd supported. Actually, I grew up for the first sort of 10 years of my life about 100 yards away from the stadium of Oxford United. But there was no way I could tell them I supported Oxford as well, because Oxford they're much better now, but they certainly weren't very desperately high at the time. So I basically chose the team that for a couple of reasons that to do with my childhood. My wife's an Arsenal fan, so that constantly causes discussion. Yeah, I know, misguided. So Chelsea always have since then. And we've not had a great couple of seasons, but fingers crossed we're beginning to pull back again. You see, Arsenal fans, however, it's still before Christmas, therefore you're doing well at the moment. We all know what will happen in January. Always does.
We support our team through thick and thin. Let's just say you've done something good in your life. You married an Arsenal fan. You now have a
Would
little
agree.
grace.
She would agree.
But what's your game? What's your sport? Because clearly it's not football if you're supporting Chelsea.
My two loves are rugby and cricket. I absolutely love watching rugby. Particularly, we've just been knocked out of the World Cup, but I think some amazing matches, and I love watching rugby. England, I'm a Harlequins fan, but cricket as well. I follow all formats of England cricket. Lived in Kent, regularly used to go and watch Kent cricket. And yeah, love it. I mean, again, the great thing about being in Dubai, there's a lot of cricket played here. We had during COVID, we had the 2020 World Cup finals moved here, which was a great opportunity. Yeah, rugby and cricket are a huge sports for me, and I spend possibly too long watching them.
Yeah. Do you play though? Do you play any sports?
I have played a little bit of cricket in the past, but not at any quality whatsoever. I played a bit while I was at university, but not really played much since then. It's much more of an armchair contributor than anything else.
Have you gone to where have you gone to watch cricket that you would say would be exotic, like an exotic place that you've gone off to and watched the live
That's
game?
a plan for the future. I mean, I've watched cricket at Lord's in London. That's an amazing stadium. Great place to watch cricket. I've seen rugby in Auckland, in New Zealand. That was amazing as well. But certainly my plan, when I have time, whenever that may be, is to either go on a Lions tour or go and watch an England cricket tour. I'd love to go to the West Indies. Sri Lanka actually would be a great opportunity. But I think the real place for cricket to go and watch would be India, to go and see an India cricket England tour would be an amazing opportunity. Something I would love to do in the future.
You talk about having time, if you have time, and we know your role is super busy. How do you relax? How do you take care of Simon? What do you do?
First and foremost, spending time with my family. I have two daughters and a wife, who I already mentioned. And actually, my favourite thing is to spend time with them. Um, Joined to that is I really enjoy travel. Again, an amazing opportunity that Dubai gives us is the opportunities to get to different countries relatively straight easily. And we've travelled Europe a lot. We spent a few years sort of travelling around Spain. That was great fun. But since we've been in Dubai, I've been to Africa a couple of times. We've been to India. We go to Sri Lanka. We've been to Singapore. We've been to Bali. And actually, the opportunity to take my family to my second love, which is traveling and discovering different cultures, is a real favorite of mine. That's something I love to do. And ultimately as well, I really, really enjoy reading. One of the best things I have ever bought was a Kindle, which means that I can not only buy books very quickly, but also I actually find that I've read considerably more now I've moved away from paper books. And I appreciate this is a divide the room moment. People either want paper books or they want electronic versions. But for me, the Kindle has enabled me to keep reading. And I read a whole variety of things. I mentioned earlier I was a history teacher. History fascinates me. I read, much to my very, very literate wife's disgust, a whole series of poor historical novels, but I love sort of immersing myself in those kind of cultures. But yeah, I just keep reading as well. I really enjoy reading. That's a great love of mine too. I suppose the other one is music. My family are very musical. I grew up doing a lot of music. I've played the piano. I've played a number of instruments, but I did a lot of singing as well. And so, yeah, music is another passion of mine, and the opportunity to both listen to music, but also and this one's not something I do an awful lot of, but as I say, the opportunity to take part in musical opportunities is a great love of mine as well. There you go. That's a long answer.
No, it's a good answer. So forget your Kindle,
Yep.
because you mentioned travel and you mentioned reading. So I want to put the two together. If you were stranded on an island, you can't bring your Kindle, but you must take two books with you. What two books would you take? Because remember, you're not getting off this island. You have to keep reading those books.
You have to keep reading those books. So it's going to have to be something long. So the complete works of Shakespeare would interest me. I've always enjoyed. I think that combines a love of brilliant. I mean, I'm not going to start going into why Shakespeare's great, but I haven't read all of those. Yeah, another one would be a sort of series of history of the world, because I said history is a real fascination for me. Inevitably, despite the fact I've taught history for over 25 years, my knowledge of history is still fairly scant. So the opportunity to really submerge myself in more history and to learn more of history would be, if I had two, those would be my two.
All right, I'm going to be fair and say, what's one other thing you would take with you on this island?
I was on a desert island, a speedboat, because to get off it, because I think realistically, my survival skills are fairly would almost certainly mean that I'd barely get into a couple of chapters of that history book before I struck real problems. Um, yeah, yeah, I think something like that always sounds idyllic, and I suspect that after about 36 hours, that romance would disappear very quickly. So yeah, I'm going to have a speedboat to get me home. Is
Yeah,
that cheap?
you can't see yourself staying on a desert island. Do you do any kind of meditation? Do you do any kind of yoga, breath work? Do you do any of these things?
Sometimes, yeah. So meditation sometimes, a little bit. Actually, I think one of the best things I ever did is actually, and I don't know whether this counts, but I actually regularly have sessions with a leadership coach that just gives me an opportunity to. So I've been working with Will for several years, and I actually think and I encourage anyone that is involved. Well, I was going to say leadership, but well beyond that, have an opportunity to have someone to coach you, because I encourage all of my senior team. We've done a lot of work at Deira International School and indeed Universal American School, both the Alpha Tame Education Foundation schools, to try and instill coaching. And I think it's so important. And the reason it's linked to that question is I describe it as, we all have incredibly busy lives. We have lots going on. I'm sitting at my desk and your desk piles up with stuff, but I think your mind does as well. And for me, coaching is an opportunity to clear that mental desk. It's to resolve issues, to talk it through with someone who's disconnected, who enables you to see things in a different light. And it's so important. So yes, I absolutely do. I don't do yoga, but certainly do personal meditation and things like that. But for me, it's coaching that is the important bit, because it just enables you to clear your mind. I really enjoy walking. Now the temperature's coming down,
Thank
and
God.
podcasts and things like that. Listening to podcasts, whether it's about history, whether it's about politics, whether it's about education, the opportunity just to be on your own, stick your headphones in and listen to another view is something I really enjoy as well, and find relaxing and educational as well.
So I've known you since like Jumeirah College days coming up,
Yep.
and you're quite, you're a real like strong leader because your schools have done well, you've done well. And as a leader, people see the strong side of you. They don't normally see the vulnerable side. When was the last time you cried, and what made you cry?
It's a very good question. I'm very happy to admit I think people do see the strong side of me, but I think people that work with me would see the nervous side, the unsure side. I'm trying desperately to think of the last time I cried, by the way, whilst I answer this question. But I also think any leader, we talk about the imposter syndrome as well. And I think however long you've done a job like this, you question yourself all the time. I honestly cannot think of the last time I cried, and I don't want you to give you a false answer.
No, it's
Uh,
okay.
but I will happily, very honestly say that, yeah, I do cry. And there are things that cause me upset and nervousness. But I think actually, to come back to your question about leadership, I think for me, leadership has to be transparent as well, and it has to be honest, and it has to show vulnerability. And I talk to people I work with and say one of the most important things that they have to do is to tell me when I'm getting things wrong, because I do get things wrong all the time. Everyone does. And I think one of the slightly strange positions about a principal or director or whatever you wish to call them is that you've got no one necessarily sitting above you saying, this could be better, this could be better. I try and be as transparent and as honest as I can be. Can't think the last time I cried, but it
No
wasn't too long.
problem. I got another question for you though.
Yeah,
You know
go
how
for it.
you talk about coaching and its value? I'm really big on coaching, and I do believe there is great value in it.
Mm.
In during doing that work, have you discovered what your top maybe three values are? What do you
Oh
value
gosh,
most?
I think I've kind of alluded to it already. I think integrity is absolutely vital. We live to, I mean, again, that prompts the question, what do we mean by integrity? But I think we all know what is right and wrong. And for me, integrity is doing the right thing when no one's watching. Doing it. Someone once said to me, and it really stayed with me, do the right thing because then you don't have to remember why you did it. And there's a kind of that smacks of laziness, but at the same time, it's just do the right thing. We talk about integrity here at the school a lot. I think a second one is excellence. I'm involved in a school. Students get one opportunity at this. And as a history teacher, you might deliver that year 8 lesson 4 or 5 times, possibly in 1 week, but that student gets one shot at it. And so we have to do the best we can for every student because they only get one shot at it. So excellence is another thing. I love working with people as well. And therefore, collaboration, the opportunity to listen to other people and to work with other people. I think this is a misconception that people sometimes have, and I've talked to staff here about this. People in my position do not have a book with the answers in it. We might have some experience which lead us to think what those answers are, but actually we are far more than simply the sum of our parts if we work together as a team. I can't teach physics. Similarly, I can't teach year 1, but we've got a school with great physics teachers and other subjects. We've got great teachers. We all have a role within that, but it's not about an individual. It's not about me. It's about the collective, and it's about ensuring our students are I include the students in that collaboration as well. I mean, we've had some wonderful projects at this school where students have been able to, not just have an input, but actually have led projects for us. With amazing results. So yeah, collaboration's another really important value for me. Working together, we're much more than the simple sum of our parts. Yeah.
And you as a person, what do you value as an individual or within your family? What's the big thing that you value most there?
I think those 3 things in terms of excellence, integrity, collaboration are important. I think time is important as well. I mean, I love spending time with my family. They're my most important thing, inevitably. So spending time with them, having fun. I mean, we're on a rock that we won't get to spend a huge amount of time with, and actually creating memories for each other, spending time together. And this can be my family, but it's the people I spend time with. I think it's important we create memories that we can look back on. I'm constantly mindful of that thing. Very few people have lain on their in their final stages in life wishing they'd worked harder. We want to create memories, we want to create opportunities and have fun. I was watching something yesterday that someone sent me which said, Charlie Chaplin said that, most lives up close are tragedy, but when you pull the camera back, they're a comedy. Let's not take ourselves too seriously. I also believe, and I think whether this is an education, chances are it'll all be all right in the end. So we just keep, I think people can become over obsessed by the minutiae of stuff. And actually, we keep going until it is all right. So I think positivity is important as well. But yeah, have fun, create memories. That's
okay.
Important.
Quick fire session.
Oh, here we go.
Oh dear, here we go. No, but these ones are personal and they're easy. Okay. Favorite song?
Favorite song, and that's too difficult. That's like it could be anything. I'm a big Coldplay fan. I absolutely recently loved their Music of the Spheres album, so let's go with something from there. People of the Pride by Coldplay.
Okay, cool. Favorite meal?
Probably Indian. So curry of some variety, chicken jalfrezi with garlic naan. There you go.
Next holiday destination?
Or what's it going to be? What do I hope it's going to be? I haven't spent enough time exploring Africa. I've explored quite a lot of Southern Africa, but I would either like to go to more of Africa. The other place I would love to go to, which I've yet to go to and I will go to, is South America. There's a culture I haven't seen. That just fascinates me. It's a little bit far away, so it takes a bit more planning. But okay, let's go Brazil.
Brazil. Okay, cool. AI, does it scare you or excite you?
Massively excites me, hugely excites me. It excites me personally because I just think it's going to change. I think it will be as seismic a shift as the development of the internet. But equally, I think that education is going to be completely transformed by this. Um, Teachers love teaching, that's why they do it. But any teacher will tell you there's a certain proportion of what we do which is bureaucratic, fairly mindless, has to be done. And I think the first stages of AI in education will take a lot of those mundane, bureaucratic tasks that teachers have to do, and I don't think anyone questions they need to be done, and do it that much quicker for them. And the advantage of that is it will free teachers up to spend time doing what they absolutely love doing, which is the interaction with students, helping the students themselves. Not writing schemes of work, not writing, or certainly curating as opposed to creating things like reports, marking work. It's really important, but AI will be able to do that, and that will free up teachers. And I just think it will, I think it's going to change all that we do. So I'm hugely excited by it.
Yeah, me too. I'm a super fan of AI, but I'm also a little scared because I don't know where it will all end up. Do you know what I mean?
That's exciting. Isn't that exciting too? That's
scary.
exciting.
Who will it displace? There are little issues, but that's a whole other podcast because I think, there will be displacements.
Let's have that chat in another podcast then.
Yeah. All right. Last question. And I want you to just kind of dream and imagine with me. Is Simon in retirement? What would he be doing?
Simon in retirement, and I think this is by the people that know me best, it is a horrible concept, because the one thing I can tell you is that I'm worst when I'm bored. So where will I do? Well, I've already alluded to the fact that when I've got more time, which may be retirement, to spend some more time watching sport live, I'd love to do that. But I'm actually quite deliberately preparing for this. I'm doing a doctorate at the moment, investigating an element of school leadership which fascinates me, and I actually like to keep going with that. So possibly, rather than retirement, scaling back this kind of bit of job a little bit to actually develop that, because I think it's a really interesting. I'm looking at the role of organizational culture in schools as a leadership, school improvement element, and I'd actually like to spend time. I can't see a time when I'm not working in schools or working with schools or working for schools of some capacity, because I mentioned that buzz that I got in the beginning of 1990, and it stays with me. So yeah, let's say I spend my time working with schools, talking to schools, whilst traveling the world, watching England play rugby and cricket.
Brilliant. That's a good place to end the pod. Thank you, Simon.
That's exciting. Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you very much indeed. I've enjoyed talking about it.